This can be a quick walkthrough of Advanced Wars Days of Rune's most difficult map, which is called J Islands. It's a campaign map, but it's not part of the core campaign, so you don't have to beat it to beat the game. But if you are trying to 100% the map, you'll have to get through this one. It's I guess it's called T415 J Islands. You see it right there. And I'll jump right in. And so this is it. So basically it's 4 islands. The way I would recommend beating it is taking over your main island here, then going down, taking over blue, jumping across, taking over black, and then moving up and taking over yellow. I think that's the easiest way to do it. So basically that means you are taking over Grayfield, then Tabitha, then Wayland. First thing I would say you have to do is get your bikes going, start taking over your island. You want to maintain complete control over your island. Obviously, it's pretty standard practice. Sorry, I was going to build a gunboat, which is pretty good to start off with, but we'll change that tactic up, and I'll explain why in a minute. Basically, there are 2 maps, 2 cities here, and you do not want blue to be able to capture those. So the way to do that is with a combination of a flare, a rocket, and a 1 to 2 rigs just to keep them charged up. So I'm gonna start saving up money now so that I could just see what's going on over there. Right, again, these 2, we do not want blue to be able to take over those. And it's a little bit tedious, but if you maintain that for the first 30 days or so, like I said, it's a bit tedious. Blue will just not have enough money to stop your defense. The key here is not to spend too much to start, because once you take over your island, you'll have pretty limited income, and you'll have to start building some landers to move guys across. Also, you'll have to build up a pretty strong navy, which means a few battleships and definitely a few carriers, maybe a sub for defense, and it takes a lot of money. So main point, don't blow it all now. One important thing to note, and this can really screw you up, is that you need to have some air defense and some tank defense over in this east part of your island. If you're focused entirely on blue, then what's going to happen is the yellow guys are going to come in with a carrier and the planes, and then possibly a few big tanks, and really ruin your day. So just kind of be prepared for that. And you'll know that's going to be serious if you start seeing a big imbalance in units between yellow and black. If yellow starts pulling away, which is going to happen sometimes, then you're probably in big trouble. So you want to take over blue before yellow's in like the 26 or something like that count of units. Anyway, so this is the basic setup here. You're about to take over your island here. You have your rockets here, your flare here. You can shoot your flares down and see, and see there's an infantry unit coming out of range now, but as soon as he gets in there, you could hit him. This is a good chance to start building up your navy, but also I'll build a tank to send down to this area for some early defense. Also at this point, don't forget to build your captain, which you want to start building up your super power or your CO power or whatever. Okay, we're going to cut now. I'll come back in a few days. Okay, so it's day 8. At this point, I've built a rig, which I'm going to use to resupply the flare gun and the rockets. Well, the rockets won't need it with they're on top of the factory, but if the rockets move. I built a cruiser I use for defensive purposes, and I will soon have full control of all the cities on my island. So I just want to establish a base of defense right around here before I start building my landers. Then over here, you can see the process. Drop a flare, illuminate the cities, see if there's anything to blow up. There's nothing. You should have killed at least 1 or 2 guys by now. And then that's it. Keep going with the cruisers, but it's also not a bad idea to build some gunboats in case they do come with submarines so that you can have a diversion. I'm going to build a rig. And what I'm going to do with that rig is I'm going to build a naval base right here. That'll give me a point on this side of the island where I could repair my ships. And it'll give me a really good entry over to these beaches over here, and later to this beach, which will be where the point of attack. Run through the end of this day, you could see not too much happening. None of the opponents have too many units built up. And then I'll jump ahead a few days once the action starts. Okay, so it's day 17, and you can see where we're at right now. Basically, I built my first lander. Still have the same setup here with the rockets, the flare, and the rig. I'm building a couple anti-airs just in case the yellow guys build an aircraft carrier. I don't think it's going to happen, but I want to be prepared. Over here, I'm building a seaport, and I'm starting to build the invasion force, which is largely going to be medium tanks, light tanks, and then a few anti-tanks. The blue guys came and dropped the medium tank and the normal tank over here. No problem dispatching them. And unless they drop troops, there's really nothing to worry about, so they can't take your cities over. I have 2 cruisers kind of hidden in these reefs over here. Blue will eventually build some rockets, which can be problematic, so just be careful where you place your ships around here. Keep them along this coastline. This gunboat, you could see, took a hit from, I don't know, anti-air or something like that. But I'll get him out of harm's way. Built my first battleship, and that'll be a big target for a submarine from here, so I gotta be careful for that. Hopefully this cruiser will take care of them, but usually you have to sacrifice a battleship or 2 before you can get blue under control, and then they just can't keep up with them because they cost too much money. And we'll keep at it with the flares. So this will limit blue to -2 cities basically, which doesn't seem like a lot, but if you multiply that by what we're at, 17 days, it ends up being a really tough thing for them to overcome. Oh yeah, and finally I built another port over here. That'll just mean if this battleship, when he runs out of ammo, or I build my aircraft carrier, it's basically 1 less turn for them to get back. And again, you gotta be really careful with this battleship because blue will put a rocket usually in this city right here, or the city right here, or over here, and make fast work out of a really expensive battleship. Check back in a few days. Okay, so it's day 21, and this is a pretty good time to start your invasion, if a little bit on the slow side, depending on how aggressively you want to play. So you can see the setup over here is unchanged. Still have your rockets doing their job, and it's a pretty vicious setup because nothing over here is going to be able to even see what you have going on. I made another cruiser just to be a little defensive. I'd probably be better off with a battleship or an aircraft carrier at this point, but I'm going to go with cruiser, like I said, and play this a little defensive. So I'm not worried about the time here. Got some more medium tanks going, some basic defenses, and I have my invasion force set up. So basically, here's a lander with 2 medium tanks, another lander with an anti-tank and a regular tank. Got a fully loaded cruiser over here, and I got my battleship, which I'll use to bombard over here. It's just probably some heavy tanks. So this would be a really good point to save your game. I would recommend doing that at this level. It takes a really long time to beat. I normally say don't save games with this. With Advanced Wars, it kind of feels like cheating, but for big maps like this and Tatter Reef or Tatter Island, whatever the other one is, you got to do it. Here's my rig. This is the guy that built this port over here. Really handy for resupplying your battleships. So pretty cool there. And again, I'm waiting for the blue guys to release a sub, which is probably going to kill this battleship, but not too much that you can do about it. Yep, and there is the heavy tank. And pretty good placement. So now I have a pretty solid invasionary force. I'm light on ground troops. So ideally I would be sending over some more. But the important thing is with your first invasion, you want to take over these 4 cities. And then if you have at least 1 tank left or a battleship to protect them, you're basically golden. In an ideal world, you're just going to kind of sweep across from one side to the other. But if you could hold on to these 4 cities, you're going to wear down blue eventually. So that is the early invasion. This cruiser's in a pretty good spot to protect against incoming subs. Okay, so I'm going to go with not quite another battleship yet, but I'm going to send another bike down there, and we'll see what happens. So they have a ranged troop unit down there, probably an anti-tank. I play this game, at least this level, really light on flares. I think a lot of people would do this with some serious flare spamming, which is perfectly fine way to do it. But yeah, so the flip side is if you don't do a lot of flares, you can have problems with blue using ranged weapons. If blue comes out with a rocket or 2, it's pretty problematic for me. But from what I've seen, they don't have any, and my battleship should be able to take care of anything that's on the large side. Plus, if you go ahead and kill off their flares, anything they have that's ranged is dead. That was a mistake. I meant to kill the flare, but it's not going to make a big difference. Oh, and just be careful with their ranged stuff. You definitely don't want your battleship to get a cheap hit from something like artillery. It's a real bummer. And keep your loaders in placement where you're not losing a turn going back and forth. So basically these two beaches and this beach are great. That way you really don't have to lose any time. And again, be super careful. Once yellow starts sneaking up, they have 15 units. Black has, or gray, whatever, has 14. So those guys are fighting each other off. And actually blue just dropped off some units on this beach right here instead of attacking me, which has saved me a headache. But do watch out for yellow coming through here with an aircraft carrier. So if they do that and then a tank or two, you'll lose like 5 or 6 days getting those guys out of your way. Okay, so the invasion continues. I'll check back in a few days. Okay, quick check-in. It is day 26, and you can see that some of what makes this map difficult, even if you have a good plan, has started to appear. I'll show you what happened. So you can see it right here. Yellow sub came out of nowhere. I didn't catch him here, or sometimes they run into this guy right here. And he hit my cruiser really hard. And also that cruiser previously had been hit by a missile or rocket, whatever it's called, rocket. And I'm guessing it's right here. So yeah, see? So they didn't see this guy, and the battleship was out of range. So do what I can, take out the sub. That's great. I have a carrier now. Carrier has one plane built. The thing with the planes is you have to be really careful how you use them, because if you move the carrier, you can't produce a plane. Yeah, so, and the planes have very limited range. So if I move this guy without using the plane, I lose a turn of the plane. If I send the plane down to kill this rocket, then I'm probably going to lose him to an anti-air. Maybe not this turn or the next turn, but I'll give it a shot. Problem with the battleship and the rocket, they have the same range, so you don't want to leave your expensive battleship in the same range as one of those guys. And here's the invasion force. Is going pretty well. You can see I'm doing this just 2 landers, and I've already got 1 city down. Once he sweeps in with a couple of war tanks, I'll be in big trouble. But for now, I'm doing really well. And you can see in the pipeline, there's very little stuff. Blue dropped off, you know, a rocket troop or whatever. Then not much else, so they were easy to take care of. But yeah, in the pipeline, you really need to keep these guys going. I started moving over to tanks just so it saves a few turns. This tank is basically here. From here to here's 1 turn, 2 turns, and then the 3rd turn is straight onto the boat. Whereas a medium tank, it's at least 4 turns, even though it does a lot better when you're doing the fighting. And then I have a little check-in. Yellow and gray are still about even. Blue only has 7 units, so if this invasion goes well, he should be dead really quickly. And once you take over the blue island, this map is totally over, which you could just steamroll the gray with aircraft carriers. So move this guy down. Again, be really careful if you didn't take care of any rockets that might be hiding here or here. Yeah, that's about it for day 26. I'll check back in a little bit. Okay, so it's day 33, and I've basically taken the lower island. You can see that blue only has 1 troop left, and I have a dominant control over the bottom here. I have guys on top of anything they have to produce units, and right here is their last guy. I'm actually not going to kill him this time. I will just go ahead and capture their base. That'll save me a few days, during which I won't have to worry. I won't have to go and manually take over each one of these cities. And all I have to do is keep a unit on top of anything they use to produce bad guys. So these three right here, the two factories and the shipyard or whatever. And yeah, that'll be it for blue. With that, the game is the level's basically over. But I'll keep on playing. Next step will be to invade this beach over here, which can be tough, but keep moving along, build up a few battleships. The interesting thing to note is that the aircraft carrier, I have 2 seaplanes. They can only produce 3 or 4, I forget what it is. After that, the carrier is basically trashed. So you just gotta buy a new one. You can't just keep producing them, which gets annoying since we'll be burning through seaplanes pretty quickly because anti-air can come out of the shade or the fog of war at any time, and they're basically dead in 1 to 2 turns. Anyway, so take over that lower island and keep moving from there. Okay, so it's day 48, and you can see that I've got a lot of units, a lot of cities, more money than I know what to do with. Blue is gone, and gray, that's Tabitha, is really on the ropes. And you can see over here that I'm about to finish gray off. And there's really no way to take this base over unless you get lucky. So I'm going to have to just kill their units and then conquer the cities one by one. Just a quick overview of the map. You can see I have a strong invasion force. 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 battleships. An armada of cruisers up here, mostly for defense, but also an aircraft carrier, I guess 2 aircraft carriers, more cruisers incoming. Gunboat just for kind of cannon fodder and exploration. And these guys are really the key to the invasion, which you could just sort of pound the units with that. One thing I would say is, again, be careful for yellow hiding rocket troops in the shadows. Gray had a particularly nasty one right here, so that could really halt your advance from this beach over down. But at this point, you have your battleships, so it should be really no problem taking care of the rockets. So at this point, the strategy is going to be take over gray, and then just start building tons of units right here, and then use my battleships to clear off this beach. It's going to be aided greatly by the seaplanes. Just be careful for anti-airs coming down from here. Just when you do see them, pound them with your battleships. And then lastly, you can see I have a couple rigs around here. Use those to recharge your battleship. Your battleship can go, someplace like right here. Take a shot, something, and then your rig can go up to that spot right there and recharge your battleship plus your war tanks, which probably don't have much ammo left. Okay, we'll check back in a few days. Okay, so it's day 53, and I didn't even show the invasion because it was so easy. With all the battleships and the seaplanes, yellow really has no chance, so you really just steamroll them once you have the gray base. And I barely even used any of my resources, so you are so over-prepared. You just could pump out war tanks and battleships, and there's really nothing they could do since you already have an overwhelming force. And that's pretty well evidenced there. They have 1 left, so I'll just wrap this up and see what my score is. Seaplanes have no ammo. There you go. Win. It's an S and 334. So solid, not phenomenal. But yeah, so that is how you beat J Islands. Thanks for watching.